Thank you, sir. On page 41, there is this description there, page 41. I think yeah. Thank you. Now, I don't want to lead you in respect of the linkage that you say Stein said it was there between accused number 3 and Kelly Khumalo. Now, that is this, what Stein said, that is what is contained in Stein affidavit in page 41 of his affidavit, that's number 01. Now, those are the links between the target. As you go down that page 41, Stein then explains what is represented, what is contained in that diagram, schematic diagram there. But I'm not so sure whether you're able to relate what you're saying, that Stein told you that there was a link between accused number 3 and Kelly Khumalo in relation to what is contained in his affidavit. If you're able to do so, then you may proceed.
Kukhona lo mdwebo olapha ekhasini leka 41 la eza kukhonjwa khona ukuthi kukhona ukuxhumana phakathi koKelly Khumalo nomsolo wesithathu kule affidavit ka Colonel Stein. Kodwa ngicela ukuthi ke wena ungichazele kabanzana ukuthi lokuxhumana kwenzeka kanjani.
My lord, no, I can't. I'm not an expert, and that is why I said this right from the beginning, that I'm very cautious of trying to interpret this document, because I'm not qualified to do so.
Angeke ngikwazi ukwenza lokho ngoba ngiyena uchwepheshe. Yikho ngithi mina okudinga uchwepheshe ukuthi azosichazela ngalokho ngoba mina anginalo ulwazi olulingene ukuthi ngakwazi ukuthi ngichaze.
All I said, my lord, is that he gave me a report, and the report that he gave me, then he showed me in a statement, and it is here, links to targets. That's how far I can take it. In terms of interpretation, I'll be venturing in a terrain that I'm not qualified to do so, my lord.
Angika kona mina wanginika umbiko ochazayo ukuthi kunokuxhumana ongikhombisa ukukhona ukuxhumana phakathi kwaloku naloku ukuthi ke kwenzeka kanjani. Hayi lapho ke angeke ngakwazi ukuthi ngichaze ngoba angiyena uchwepheshe.
Let me help you say. On page 41, it says links between the target, and there's this diagrammatic representation there. And then as you go down, it gives the analysis of what is represented in that diagram there. Maybe kindly please go down to the analysis. Or in other words, it's an analysis or a summary or information that is contained in the diagram in word form. Now, the first point says there's a contact between Kelly Khumalo, and then it lists that number and another cell phone number that allegedly belongs to Fisokuhle Ntuli at Nkani, not so. Do you see that?
Uyabona yena ukuthi khona la akhombisa khona ukuthi khona ukuthintana phakathi kwefoni kaKelly Khumalo nale kuthiwa ifoni kaFisokuhle Ntuli.
Do you see that?
My lord, I see that, but my difficulty with this, there is no heading or a sentence that says these bullet forms are interpreting what is contained above. And this is why I'm saying I don't want to venture into this, because then I'm being asked to speculate what these bullet forms are talking to in relation to this spider web. I'm not the author of this, my lord, and otherwise then we'll be speculating and we might find ourselves not agreeing with Advocate Mnisi. Colonel Stein, I think, will be in a better position to deal with this document because he's the author. I was simply proving that what I was saying when I said there was a link, and I got a report from Colonel Stein. Here is it, it is documented. The interpretation of this, my lord, Colonel Stein is more qualified to deal with this part, my lord.
Mina sathi uKolonel Stein uyena ongakwazi ukuchaza kabanzana ukuthi lokubhalile lapha ezama ukuchaza ukuthi kwenzekani lapha kulo mdwebo lo uyena ongachaza ngcono ukuthi kusho ukuthini lo. Mina ngiyena uchwepheshe, mina ngathola umbiko nje ochazayo ukuthi kwaba nokuxhumana ukudlula kuloko angikwazi ukuthi ngase ngoba ngizobe ngiqagela phela mase ngenza kanjani.
Thank you, sir. What I am putting to you is exactly what Colonel Stein said. Colonel Stein said those bullet points represent an interpretation of what is contained in the diagrammatic representation there. So this is no speculation, that's what he said. Now, you are telling this court that he told you that there was a link between accused number 3 and Kelly Kumalo. And that is found in this link between the targets. Now, I want us to go through that exercise to confirm what Colonel Steyn told you about the link that was between accused number 3 and Kelly Kumalo by using this information in his affidavit.
So for now,
As a court, please, my lord, I think my learned friend has sufficiently threshed out this issue, not only today, but also on Wednesday, just before we adjourned. The witness has said that Colonel Steyn's evidence is on record. I don't know whether counsel wants now Brigadier Gininda to interpret the evidence of Colonel Steyn. It is on record. It's now for the parties to argue that point, to see if there's support for the evidence of Brigadier Gininda. But it cannot be expected of him now to try and interpret the evidence of Colonel Steyn. He has repeatedly said he's not an expert. Colonel Steyn, he's the one who's an expert, and he has testified about these issues. We submit, my lord, that it's an unfair question to Brigadier Gininda to keep on probing him on the same issues, in respect of which he's already said he's not an expert.
As it please the court, my lord. This is not about interpretation. It is what is contained in Colonel Steyn's affidavit, as raw as is. I'm not requesting this witness to interpret what is contained in Colonel Steyn's affidavit. I'm simply requesting him to read what Colonel Steyn is saying in his affidavit, whether, having read that, he's able to identify what he claims to have been said to him by Colonel Steyn, that there was a link between accused number 3 and Kelly Kumalo. In other words, I am trying to assist this witness to find a collaboration, using his term, between what he was told by Mr. Steyn and what Mr. Steyn says in his affidavit. This is more to help him than to help me. I'm trying to do that now. I'm trying to help the state, just to find a collaboration.
This is clear.
Yes,
He says he's not an expert, and that document was drafted by Colonel Steyn, who is the expert.
Yes,
And he says he doesn't want to speculate. But you, Mr. Mnisi, you,
yes,
and together with your learned colleagues,
yes.
you persistently told this witness, don't venture into the field. You are not an expert. When he tried to explain, for instance, about the DNA evidence,
Correct, man.
you told him, you're not an expert, it's not your job.
I remember, my
Yeah,
lord.
you told him
Telling
that.
me he was
Now you
pretending
say,
that.
now he must do the same very job of when you told him that he's not an expert, he mustn't venture. It's not his duty. His duty is just to present evidence.
Yes.
And that's it. Now he says he's not able to read that document because it involves expertise
I see,
by
my lord.
Steyn.
But my lord,
Let's have progress, because he says he can't. And you are saying you are helping him.
yes, to help himself. I'm not saying to this witness, man, can you please explain to me what is happening here? I am saying to him, can you please read this, what is contained in Colonel Steyn's affidavit? I'm not requesting him to give an opinion, to make conclusions, to draw inferences. No, I'm simply requesting him to read this as raw as is, man. Yeah. I'm reminded, my lord, by my colleague, Mr. Ramusipeli, that on the same vein, that it would be argued that this witness cannot read this into the record because he's not an expert. Mr. Ramusipeli reminds me that at one point or the other during the proceedings in this matter, the witness was requested to read into record certain portions of the expert evidence in relation to the DNA. Now, I find it a little bit odd for this witness to come and say, no, I can't read that because I'm not an expert. He should have said the very same thing when he was requested to read to record the DNA results. And Mr. Ramusipili likes to say what is good for the gander should also be good for the goose. Whatever that means, it might mean what should then be happening here, my lord. But nonetheless, my lord, I understand the court to have ruled that this witness is not in a position to read into record here because of fear of speculation. I respectfully respect that ruling, my lord. Thank you, Brigadier Gininda. Let's proceed, but still on the same point. In the testimony of Mr. In the testimony of Mr. Colonel Steyn, there was no information because he based every aspect of his evidence on what is contained in this affidavit. Nothing came out when he said that there was a link between accused number 3 and Kelly Khumalo. If it's told you that, then it was very disingenuous of him to have told you that, knowing that that is not contained in his affidavit. Do you understand?
Ubufakazi bukaColonel Steyn akukho lutho olutholakala lapha ku-affidavit yakhe oluchaza ukuthi ukuxhumana kukaKelly Khumalo nomsolwa wesithathu kuza kanjani.
My Lord, I was not here when Colonel Steyn testified. What I'm saying, and this is what I said the last time, my Lord, when we were dealing with page 41, I referred not to bullet points. The report I got from Colonel Steyn directed me to the spider web, and that's what I read the last time when it was beamed on the screen. And it is clear that the heading reads links between targets. Miss Kelly Khumalo is there. If you go down the web, you see the contact numbers of accused number 3. He's mentioned and even the number. That's how far I can take it. And to say, my Lord, I cannot read a document, there's a difference between reading and interpreting. I can read, I said I don't have expertise to interpret what is contained here. That's why I said Colonel Steyn is best vested with the abilities to deal with this part, my Lord.
Thank you, sir.
Akukho ke lana bengingakuchaza kabanzana ngoba ngalokuxhumana phakathi ngoba mina engakwenza nje ukuthi mina ngavele ngasenzisa lo mdwebo lapha ngakukhombisa la kuthiwa khona ukuxhumana phakathi kweyinamba eyithize nenamba yomsolwa wesithathu nayo iyavela lapha. Kodwa ke mina la engafinyelela khona ukutheni ngingafunda nje kuphela, angeke ngikwazi ukuchaza lokho engikufundayo, kodwa ngingakufunda lokho okukhona lapha kumbiko kaColonel Steyn. uColonel Steyn yena ongakwazi ukuthi achaze kangconywana ukuthi bezizama ukuthini.
Thank you, sir. For the sake of completeness, this is what Colonel Steyn said on page 41. He said he was able to identify that there was a contact between Kelly Khumalo and Fiso Kuhlenkani, and that is contained in the document, and he lists their cell phone numbers. That's number 1. Number 2, he says there was a communication between Fiso Kuhlentuli, in bracket Nkani, and Mtobisi Gadla Mnube. He also lists their cell phone numbers. Number 3, he says there was a communication between Mtobisi Gadla Mnube, Carlos, and Mabungu Ntuli. That is bullet number 3. Bullet number 4, he says he was able to identify, when he analyzed the calls or the phones or the information, the 205 information that was handed to him by you, that there was a communication between Mabungu Ntuli, in brackets 2, and Bongani Sandiso Ntanzi. He also listed their cell phone numbers. Bullet number 5, he says he was also able to find that there was a communication between Fiso Ntuli, alias Nkani, and Muziga Ukalelwa September Sibia, who's accused number 1, also known as Muzi Stroke Ndo. That is his information relating to that diagrammatic representation. And as I read this, there's nowhere where he says, I was able also to find a link, just to avoid using the word communication, to find a link between Mtobisi Mnube, that is accused number 3, and Kelly Khumalo. Do you follow?
Lana uthe ukwazile ukuthi akhombise kubullet yakhe yokuqala ukuthi akhombise ukuxhumana kwabantu ukuthi khona ama-contact amathathu akhona lapho axhumanayo. Kwesibili wasekhuluma ngokukhuluma phakathi kwakuSofiso Kuhlentuna noGadla, waqhubeka kwathi khona la ekhuluma khona uGadla Ncube noma Gungu Ntuli. Point esine ukuthi wakwazi ukukhombisa ukuthi uMagungu wakwazi ukukhuluma noBongani, and kwase kubullet yesithathu owesihlanu wasekhombisa ukuthi kwakhona ukukhulumisana phakathi kwaFiso Kuhlentule noSibiya, kodwa kukho la ekhombisa khona ukuthi kukhona ukuxhumana phakathi kukamsolwa wesithathu nabanye.
My Lord, as I've said, and I think I dealt with this part, where I said my understanding there's a difference between linkages and communication. The bullet points that have been read refers to communication. And I've explained, my lord, that my understanding of the report I got referred to linkages. And that is why, my lord, I said the best person who can deal with this is really Kenneth Stein, because if you look at the diagram above, where he says links to target, the number of Ms. Kelly Khumalo appears and the number of accused appears. But I'm not an expert to refer to, to interpret this. And he says links. Bullet points that are read to me refers to communication, and understand communication to be a call, whether received or made or whatever forms of communication direct. I understand links differently, but as I've said, my lord, I'm not an expert, because I'll end up now misinterpreting this document, speculating where I was told I should not speculate in areas where I'm not an expert, and I would like to leave it at that, my lord. As I said, Kenneth Stein can interpret this document. All I said, after he gave me the report, it is contained in this exhibit, because there is a clear, it's even bolded, my lord, links between target. Ms. Kelly Khumalo is there and accused number 3 is there. If there's a dispute that what is contained here is not links, then Kenneth Stein can be in a better position to explain that, my lord.
Njengoba bese ngishilo-ke nangaphambili ukuthi khona umehluko phakathi kokuxhumana nokukhulumisana. Ngoba mina indlela engiyizwisisa ngayo lento ukuthi uma kuthiwa i-communication noma ukukhulumisana kusho ukuthi-ke kukhona oshaya ucingo wathintana nomunye ngocingo. Kodwa-ke lapha kuleyo mdwebo lokhona lapha kuyabonakala ukuthi lana ngoba phela lana phela bekukhulunywa ngokuxhumana kuphela, kodwa kuyabonakala ukuthi kukhona ukuxhumana okukhona, futhi kuyabonakala ukuthi nalimugqa lo obhaliwe lapha ukhombisa lokuxhumana, uyabona ukuthi ubhalwe waze wagcizelelwa ngoba kufuna kubonakale kahle ukuthi uzama ukuchaza ukuthi kukhona ukuxhumana, ngoba ilona ifoni kaMsolo wesithathu iyakhonjiswa lana nesifoni kaKelly Khumalo iyakhonjiswa lapha. Kodwa-ke mina angeke ngakwazi ukuthi ngiqhubekele phambili ngithi ngiyazama ukuletha incazelo ezozwakala ngoba ngizogcina ngiqagela. Kungcono kubizwe uchwepheshe okuyena ongakwazi ukuchaza.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Brigadier. Now, you, subsequent to taking over of the investigation by you requested that accused number 3's cell phone should be downloaded, and subsequent to that, that was done. And there were pictures that are shown in those downloads of him wearing certain clothes on the 26th of October 2014. We have seen that many times here at court, not so?
Lapha-ke emva kokuthi uthathe ube wena oqhubeka nalo msebenzi lo wokuphenya, wacela ukuthi akudownloade ifoni kaMsolo wesithathu, nekulezi iy'thombe-ke ezaphuma lapho, khona isithombe sikamhla 26 ku-October 2014 lapho egqoke izembatho ezithize.
Yes, when I was present, my lord, giving testimony, I've seen those pictures. When I was not, obviously, but I've got no doubt, as Advocate Mnisi is saying, that they may have been shown on numerous occasions, but I wouldn't know, I was not here. I can only refer to instances when I was in court, my lord.
Ngangingekho enkantolo ngesikhathi kukhonjiswa lezi zinto enkantolo, kodwa ngiyethemba ukuthi uba Mnisi lezi zinto akhuluma ngazo zikhona, angakwazi ukusikhombisa.
Yeah, I'm referring to Exhibit S. I'm referring to Exhibit S. Thank you. I'm referring to Exhibit S. We can go to page 12 of Exhibit S. Page 12, 17 will do as well, but let's go to page 12.
Yes,
Thank you.
I have it in front of me, my lord.
Thank you. Now, one of the reasons why you say after the confession, after you found the content of the confession allegedly made by accused number 2, you were then you then formulated a viewpoint. I don't want to say you were satisfied. You then formulated a viewpoint that because the witnesses in their house identify the gun toter as somebody who was wearing a beige top, then you had a look at these pictures and then you formulated a view that that could have been accused number 3. Did I understand you to mean that?
Emva kokuthi ke uthole ke i-confession yomsolo wesibili nokuthi ulalele ke ubufakazi nolwazi walinika abasolwa naloko kwakusho ofakazi ababengaphakathi endlini ukuthi umsolwa lo wayephethe isibhamu wayephethe ke wayegqoka ingubo enjani nowakubona lapha ethombeni kusho ukuthi lokho kwakhola umsolwa wesithathu.
So, my lord, the witnesses, yes, so what I found, so I will regard this as one of the collaborations that I found, that was there, but it was a number of items or points that one found insofar as accused number 3. But insofar as clothing is concerned, other witnesses are saying beige or brown jacket and others are specific to say it was a khaki top. So yes, when I found this picture, I viewed this top, my lord, as a top and khaki, because there are other pictures where you can see accused 3 almost from the top to the bottom, where you can see that this is actually a top and there's a trouser underneath.
Kona ke ubufakazi obuningi obukhona esasebhekile kubona bodwa lokhu ubufakazi bodwa obasikhomba ngobunye nje ubufakazi esabusebenzisa ukuthi sikwazi ukufinyelela lesinqumo sokuthi uyasoleka umsolo wesithathu. Kodwa ke futhi kukhona nabanye abafeza phela umbala, abanye babethu beige, abanye biza eminye imbala, kodwa ke kukhona abagcina bethi cha lento ayigqokile top ewukhakhi. Kodwa ke sikhona ezinye izithombe engazibheka ngathi mangibheka ngabona ukuthi lana i-top kukhona la ifike iphelele khona. Uma usubona isithombe somuntu esiphelele kuyabonakala ukuthi lento esibhekile lana kwakuyi-top.
Now, having received the information as contained in Exhibit S, which is in the form of these pictures that are depicting what accused number 3 is wearing in those pictures, did you go back to the witnesses who were in the house, who are describing what he was wearing, to them to find out if what is depicted in Exhibit S, in the photos in Exhibit S, which depict what accused number 3 is wearing, to find out if this is what they saw on the day in question?
Manje ke lapha ke emva ukuthi uthole ulwazi oluthola ngomsolo wesithathu nezithombe kwazikhipha lapha efonini yakho wambona waphinda wabuyela yini kuba kufakazi laba abakutshela ukuthi wayigqoke kanjani lo muntu abambona waphinda wabuyela yini kubona bakhombisa izithombe wathi iyona yini lento enayibona?
No, my lord, but that point goes back to what we dealt with Advocate Mnisi, with the issue of an identity parade. The court will recall, my lord, that I said after the confessions were received from both accused, the name of Ms. Kelly Kumalo as the trigger point came in. Now, while you investigate, obviously, the people who are implicated, in that investigation, I also had to investigate the people who were inside the house to see if you can find a collaboration. You cannot now, sitting with that information that implicates, for example, Ms. Kelly Kumalo, and you run to her when you have not exhausted as to whether she's involved or not. You can't, my lord. That's not how it's done. So there was an investigation that needed to be done insofar as the people who were inside the house to see if, other than Ms. Kelly Kumalo is being mentioned, there are collaborations that you can find to exclude or to include them if they were involved or otherwise, my lord. So that was not done, and I think the exercise is because there was an investigation to establish whether there were links with Ms. Kelly Kumalo, but not only her, as to whether maybe other people inside the house could have played a role, with the common understanding of executing this offense. So that took time. By the time then we were exhausted and satisfied that these are the people we can rely on, that is when now the approach to Mr. Mtokosi Sitwala and Tumelo Madala then kicked in, my lord. So this was not done, and those were the reason why it was not done, my lord.
Engizamchaza ukuthi lapha ku-ID parade kukhona okwavela khona ngoba eqhubekeni nokuthi siphenge kwavela negama likaKelly Khumalo, and futhi ke thina ke sasizama ukuthi nanoma sesitholile ukuthi kukhona ukuxhumana noKelly Khumalo sasifanele sitholisise ukuthi lokho kuxhumana ngaliphi ngoba ababekhona endlini sasingezivele sithathe ngokuthi bayathinteka noma lalabo abanye bayathinteka noma bathintekile. Okufanele kube nophenyo oluphelele oluzozama ukuveza ukuthi bangena kanjani kule ndawo.
Yes, my lord, that's my answer.
Thank you, my lord. My lord, realize that we left with a minute or two before we go for a short adjournment. I would request that we adjourn such and then we proceed after the short adjournment. It's 30 minutes past 11.
Okay, so
Thank you, ma'am.
15 minutes.